When you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their internal struggle than it ever did with you, you'll start to learn grace. Now, this concept can be applied to drinkers when they're dealing with trying to fight for their sobriety and maybe how they think about themselves and why they drink. This can also be applied to the family, friends, and loved ones that have a drinker and an alcoholic in their family, right? You may take some of the things that they say or do personally. You may ask yourself, and even the alcoholic thinking to themselves, you may ask yourself, why can't I stop drinking? Why is it that I'm so dependent on this, liquor, on this alcohol, dependent on this vice, right? And what you have to understand is a lot of, 90% of what dependence on really anything, any addictive substance, in this case, alcohol, has to deal with is internal struggles, an attempt to cope, escape, or deal with other internal struggles that are going on in that individual's life, right? So, in order to change that behavior, first of all, what it says in the meme is that you'll start to learn grace when you understand that there are internal struggles that you're dealing with that cause you to do these things that you may think are irrational, right? Like drinking, over drinking when you know that it's going to be bad for you, right? Or for the loved ones, when somebody gets drunk and lashes out at you, or you're trying to stop them from drinking and you don't understand why they can't stop, right? And think you take it personally. You have to understand that there are internal things, there are issues going on inside that person that is causing them to drink, right? Causing them to feel the need to go to that bottle. And for us as alcoholics, we have to understand that those internal struggles have to be dealt with. But first, you have to start with grace. You've got to forgive yourself. Because if you dwell on the past, okay, in order to do anything outside of learning from it. Now, you may look at the past and research your past actions to try to better understand the mechanics of what caused you to get, to a dependent state. But outside of that, to dwell on it, to feel guilty about it, wallow in your guilt. Right? It's natural to feel guilty, of course, because if you have a soul, right? If you have a heart, you're going to feel bad about some of the things you've done in the past. And that's natural. But to dwell on it to the point where, you can dwell on it to the point where it'll lead you right back to the bottle, right? It'll make you feel hopeless, like you can't change anything. But what you've got to do is first give yourself some grace, give yourself, forgive yourself, and then move forward by attacking the internal struggles. First, taking the time to try to find out what it is what internal struggles you're dealing with that leads you to drink, right? It may be boredom. It may be something as simple as boredom. Well, which isn't really simple because boredom can lead you to do a lot of things. Anger, grief, loss, coping with all of these other things, anger, grief, loss, right? It becomes, alcohol becomes a negative coping mechanism or a destructive coping mechanism for these other things, PTSD, anxiety, right? Maybe you're anxious, you're going somewhere and you're nervous and you'll take a shot to level off, as we used to say, right? Let me just get a shot to get me, get my mind right, right? And then that shot becomes, a bottle, right? So you have to think about these things, and those are the things that you attack. That is your enemy. Your enemy are those internal struggles, and you want to fight against those. You don't fight against them by wallowing in them and feeling hopeless. You fight against them by researching them, by thinking about them, understanding that these internal struggles are not you. They're not you. They're not attached to your identity, just like being an alcoholic is not attached to your personal identity. You weren't born an alcoholic. You became one. You weren't born stressed out. You became stressed out. That feeling, those feelings, whether it's inadequacy, whether it's stress, whether it's grief, right? They came into your being. They weren't a part of your being. So you have to separate those things from your being and understand that once you separate it, right? And that's where forgiving yourself is part of that healing process, to separate yourself from these negative feelings, but understanding that it's the internal struggles that lead you to drink. And then you can start working on those, examining them. The more that you examine something, the less personal it becomes, right? The less personal it becomes. The more you examine your feelings, the less personal they become. They become something set outside of your being. And once that happens, you can start logically breaking down those emotional things, those irrational thoughts, those illogical thoughts that are really born of your own insecurities or anxieties or stressors, right? And so that's where grace becomes a weapon. Forgiving yourself becomes a weapon against your internal struggles, right? And once you deal with those internal struggles, it's that much easier to deal with the dependency, right? Because they go hand in hand. You know, even the person that may they call themselves casual moderate drinkers, but every once in a while they overdrink. There's some internal struggles in there. The internal struggle may be trying to figure out how to have a good time without the alcohol. The internal struggle may be peer pressure. Well, my family, we get together every year and, every Christmas and we drink and I won't feel like part of the family. I don't know how to feel like part of the family without involving myself in drinking as well, right? And so those are some of the things that you have to think about, and you have to attack those internal struggles, right? Because it's you against them. They're not a part of you, all right? It's not an exorcism. It's this thing is over here. I'm allowing it into my brain, the anxiety, the stress, the feelings of inadequacy, the insecurities. I'm allowing them to colonize my mind. And you have to kick them on out the country of your personal self, right? So those are something to think about, and understand that grace and forgiveness is the first step. And that also includes when you're dealing with somebody in your family that's dealing with these issues. They may not be able to verbalize that there are internal struggles they're dealing with. But trust me, if you're a close loved one or friend, you know what they are. To a degree, you have some idea of their internal struggles, and you can kind of start thinking for yourself and helping them discover how to deal with it, because you're not going to be able to just tell them. It doesn't work that way. People have to find sobriety for themselves, right? But that doesn't mean you can't put breadcrumbs down, right? You can't that's what, Al-Anon, which is, for those who don't know, you have Alcoholics Anonymous, which is for the alcoholic themselves. Then you have one of the lesser talked about, and I think they should, it really should be put out there more, is Al-Anon, which is a group of friends and loved ones of alcoholics. So these people themselves aren't alcoholics, but they live with them. They may be married to them. They may have children that are alcoholics, loved ones, and they get together. And if you can look up Al-Anon, it's Alanon, and they get together in groups and they discuss, their struggles, and they discuss how they can help, you know what I'm saying, and how they can avoid maybe enabling. That's one of the things they talk about, is avoiding enabling, their loved ones, right? Among other things, because they have issues they have to deal with, putting up with us, right? So these are the things that you want to think about and understand. Part of that is not taking things personally. Understand that it's internal struggles that the addict is dealing with, whether it's addicted to drugs, food, alcohol, or anything, and then dealing with those struggles. But you got to start with some grace, forgiving yourself, so that you can move forward and fight, right? All right, so I hope that pours into you. I really like this quote, and it's something that you want to think about. Definitely feel free to, like, share. I got a lot more coming up. The book is getting wrapped. It's to the editor. I'm really excited about it. Sobriety in Black: The Confessions of a Retired Alcoholic. Reached 10 years on July 24th, so 2021. So I'm excited about that. And, but yet and still, I'm getting through today, and I'm going to get through today every day. And I hope that you do the same if you share the same struggles as myself. All right. Hope you guys have a great day. And until next time, peace.